Hey everyone, it's the Kung Fu Genius, and I'm here with not a podcast episode, but with a special video to talk about something that I recently talked about on a live episode of the Kung Fu Genius, but I thought this topic is probably deserving of its own little mini video. So I thought, why don't I go ahead and do that? So obviously, if you guys are fans of the Kung Fu Genius podcast, thank you for all your support. If you've never watched me before, please subscribe and like this video and share it. But before I get started, I just want to start with a little bit of a trigger warning or just a general warning about what this video topic is about. As you could probably tell from the thumbnail, I'm going to be talking about something related to Bruce Lee's cocaine use, which was a big bombshell about 2.5 years ago when the so-called Bruce Lee drug letters came out at the Heritage Auction House in New York. It was a series of about 50 letters between Bruce Lee and a student of his named Bob Baker, who also happened to star in Fist of Fury. He was Petrov, one of the bad guys that Bruce has to fight at the end. It was widely known for many years that Bob Baker was the guy who was supplying Bruce Lee with cannabis, and this was nothing controversial. But first, to my trigger warning. This video is only for adults who can handle this kind of information. I've been a Bruce Lee fan since I was 8 years old, and when I first found out about the Bruce Lee drug letters about 2 years ago, it was pretty hard, I have to admit. And not that drug use needs to be stigmatized or anything like that, but as someone who studied Bruce Lee for most of my life, it was just something we did not know. The shock of the Bruce Lee drug letters to me was not that Bruce had an occasional drug habit via cannabis. It was that he seemed to have a pretty regular habit of using cocaine. That was the shock. When I saw those letters in Bruce's own handwriting, where he's asking Bob Baker for cocaine and in pretty serious amounts for that time, that was a revelation. But it explained a lot to me as a Bruce Lee fan in terms of what Bruce was going through in those final couple years of his life when he became a big movie star. So the warning is, if you're an adult that can handle information about someone you may idolize in an adult and mature way, this video is for you. If you're just a fanboy that believes that Bruce was like an infallible character, even though he himself admitted he is no saint. He even says that himself in an audio recording, I believe, with Ted Thomas. And it was widely known that he did have some type of cannabis habit, which is really no big deal coming from a 2024 lens. We just didn't know about the cocaine stuff. There are a lot of people out there who think that the letters were forged. Heritage Auction House is one of the major auction houses in the US. They're right here where I live in New York City. They have to authenticate these things before they go off and sell them. Otherwise, they would be in a lot of trouble. Bruce Lee fans, including his biggest biographers, many of which have been on my podcast, all agree that these are, in fact, Bruce Lee's handwritten letters. And it's very clear that he had this habit. If you're a fanboy that doesn't want to hear anything bad about Bruce Lee, or you're someone that thinks Beardy gives actual information about Bruce Lee, and this kind of thing is just something made up, or there's a holy conspiracy, or Quentin Tarantino secretly wrote the letters to get back at Shannon Lee or whatever, this video is not for you. This is only for adults who can handle this information. And for real Bruce Lee fans who really wanted to know what was going on in Bruce Lee in the last few years of his life, especially the last 6 or 7 months. Why wasn't he able to keep on body weight? Why was his behavior becoming increasingly erratic, like pulling the knife on Lo Wei, and a couple weird incidents that happened while he was doing TV interviews in that final period while he was living in Hong Kong? These things were a revelation to us because it made sense. Not that we were looking for confirmation bias. We were looking for what would explain why Bruce was acting this way. Was it just stardom going to his head? What was up with, like I said, his behavior, his inability to keep on body weight, and so on and so forth. And when the drug letters came out in 2021, I think I was the first one to do a video about it. It's the most watched video on my channel. And for those of you who say, oh, you're just doing it for money or whatever, I just want to put things into perspective. The Bruce Lee drug letters video is by far the biggest video on this channel. My channel is very small. I just hit 10,000 subscribers after doing this for a few years. There are a lot of Bruce Lee channels out there that are way bigger than mine. However, the video, the Bruce Lee drug letters, is at the time of this recording about 130 something thousand views, which is huge for my channel, but it's not by any means huge for YouTube. And it has to be put into perspective. That's 130K views over the course of about 2.5 years, okay? It's still one of the most watched videos, but it took 2.5 years to get to those views. And I just checked how much money I made from that video altogether cumulatively, and it's $570. Over the course of 2.5 years, that's less than $20 a month. So if you think that I'm doing this for the money, you don't know how expensive New York City is, okay? The amount of flack I got from doing the video is not worth $20 a month. Read the comments on that video. They're a flaming pile of dog shit. So anyway, one of the comments, though, I did either get on that video or one of the other videos where I talked about the Bruce Lee drug letters was that there was supposedly a photo of Bruce Lee with a Coke spoon. Now, for people who don't know what a Coke spoon is, and I had to Google it myself, it's a little tiny spoon. It's often, I guess, worn on a necklace or as a piece of jewelry. Sometimes it's in a little container that can be popped out. Sometimes it's just hanging out there. And I guess it's used to dig in and then to take a hit, and it's on the neck, so it's accessible or whatever, right? I'm a huge Bruce Lee photo nerd, and I've seen all the photos of Bruce Lee that I think have been published, and I didn't recall seeing anything. Because every time I see a photo of Bruce Lee, I look at it, I try to look at his hairstyle, what is he wearing, where was the shot, so I can figure out just from my memory, is this maybe late 72, early 71? Because I try to play a game if I can just guess by where he is and what he's wearing when this photo was done. And for the life of me, I go, well, I didn't always look at what Bruce Lee's necklace was. I remember he's got that JKD medallion, which is using that famous photo of him that they photoshopped to look like he's on a turntable. But I don't remember anything like a Coke spoon. And I did look about a couple of years ago when someone had mentioned this. I scoured the internet for photos and I didn't see anything. And then lo and behold, this week, all right, the first week of 2024, I got a book that I had ordered. It's one of the few older Bruce Lee books which I didn't have in my collection. Most of the books about Bruce Lee, I have them in some form or another, including books in Chinese about Bruce Lee. And the book that I didn't have yet was a book that came out called Bruce Lee, King of Kung Fu. This came out in 1974, so just a year after he died. Really great fan book. It was $2.50, by the way, according to the cover here when it first came out. And, kind of very typical of those early Bruce Lee books. They tell what I basically say is the lore of Bruce Lee, where he came from. He learned Wing Chun. He was a childhood star. All the basic facts that you kind of got to need to know. But it has some really, really great photos. And when I first opened the book on Monday of this week, to my surprise, was this photo here. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is a really cool photo. I mean, just look how cool he looks with his glasses and everything. And because I have such a photographic memory, at least in my opinion, of Bruce Lee photos, I was like, I don't recall seeing this photo before. I don't recall seeing this photo shoot. I don't recall seeing him wearing this exact shirt with those glasses, wearing a necklace like that, looking kind of so cool and everything. And I was like, that's interesting. So that's another reason why I like to get these books, because they sometimes show you things that you haven't seen before. But then I looked at what was hanging around his neck. And I thought, that's kind of curious. Could that maybe be the so-called Coke spoon? Because when I read that Coke spoon comment, I was like, maybe, I don't know, people comment a lot of stuff. Oh, I knew Bruce Lee. My uncle was best friends with Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee had a Coke spoon. Bruce Lee had this. And after a while, you kind of, until there's evidence, you kind of almost just dismiss it until I actually see something. There's no need to really believe it. But then as I thumbed through the book, and by the way, it's a great book, by the way, very typical, kind of telling Bruce Lee's story, a lot of photos we've seen before. And things that, are nothing new to any kind of Bruce Lee fans. By the way, if you ever see this photo here, this is Bruce Lee, most likely around the time of Way of the Dragon, given his haircut. But if you look at his belt right there, you see his belt buckle. That was a little blade that he had in his belt buckle that he could pull out if he was attacked. It was a time when he seemingly became a little bit paranoid, which could be because of this usage here. And that's the very same knife that he pulled on Lo Wei, the director of his first two films, when he had a little bit of an argument. So we're really talking about not the kind of behavior one would expect from Bruce Lee if one isn't really deep into the lore of Bruce Lee. If you don't know about these things, it might come as a shock. By the way, I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan. I love Bruce Lee as an innovator, as a martial artist. He's a huge inspiration for me, and he continues to do so. Me talking about these things is in no way trying to put him down. Bruce was about honestly expressing yourself, about getting to the root of things. And to just pretend that this stuff didn't happen or didn't exist, I don't think is really doing him a service. This explains a lot. And again, if you don't like these kind of discussions, turn the video off. So as I got to the end of the book, I saw a photo series, which is clearly from the same photo shoot from what's at the beginning of the book, because he's wearing the same thing. And then I had a chance to look at the necklace a little more closely. And lo and behold, and by the way, I Googled again, Coke spoon. And when you look very closely right there about what's around his neck, that is a cocaine spoon. And you can see it at somewhat different angles in the other photos. Right there. And there you can't really see it in that one there. But very cool looking photo shoot. Now, I don't know anything about it. Obviously, that was most likely during the Hong Kong time period. I'm pretty sure that when those photos were taken, either he got the idea or someone told him, like, maybe you shouldn't wear that around your neck. Might not be a good idea. And so there are, to my knowledge, no other photos of Bruce Lee with that around his neck. Interestingly enough, these photos came out right away, right in 1974 in this book after his death. But if you look at all the huge catalog of photos that are circulating about Bruce Lee online in Instagram, for example, either on the Bruce Lee account or by the numerous fan accounts, these photos don't really make the rounds. And I have a feeling that someone may have seen this very early on and decided that these photos were probably not the best representations, because if someone knows what that is, and I had to be told what that was to know what it is, people would pick up on it and go, hey, wait a minute, what's going on there? So it seems that, I'm not getting conspiratorial, it's quite simple. The Lee estate most likely will never publish those photos on the Instagram with an inspirational quote, as they often do, for good reason. But these photos exist. So after all these couple of years since the drug letters came out, the Bruce Lee Coke spoon photo was found by accident by me. I couldn't believe my eyes, and I've shared it with a few, let's say, insiders who have confirmed that, yeah, that seems to be what it is. And the reason why I'm doing this video in a very low-tech way and showing it to you in the book was just so that no one would say that the photo was manipulated or I had changed it or whatever. And if you believe in conspiracy theories, then I've used high-level CGI to alter this book in real time while I'm filming it here on my iPhone. And or Quentin Tarantino, who secretly penned the drug letters himself, went back in time to 1974 to put in a photo of Bruce Lee with a Coke spoon, or went back to 1974 and digitally manipulated a photo to be in a random book so that we can now discover it now. Conspiracy theorists who don't want to believe this stuff, you maybe need to think again. And so anyway, little short video, just wanted to talk about this. And as I'm fond of saying, that's all I gotta say about that.
Word is I'm a kung fu genius. Technique speaks for me, not lineage. Forget Jet Li, cause I'm the one. Many call me seafood, but to you I'm Seagung, and I produce masters. You surpassed us, your kung fu stiffer than corpse and caskets. City Wing Chun is the house I built. Violate the gate and your blood gets spilt.